Well, well, well. Look who's back.
Who?
You!
Oh. I can't look at me. I need a mirror.
Alright, folks. This week on Micah and the Hatman, we will be talking about the absolute insanity known as crowdfunding comic books, some recent controversies surrounding it, plus Elon Musk deciding to buy a chunk of Twitter. This should be interesting. My name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, and yep, the hat is back.
Welcome, folks, once again to Micah and the Hatman, live. Alright. So let's go ahead and get to picks of the week. Hatman did not have one this week.
Unless you want me to talk about Batman again, that's not the only thing.
Yep. Hatman has been very busy, to say the least. So, my pick of the week is something that I just participated in. Played it for a few days. It was Optimus and Liquid, our buddies, joined me with it as well. Xavier played it with me for a bit too. And it is Gundam Evolution, the new hero shooter that is out there.
Gundam shooter. I still can't get over the idea of a Gundam shooter.
I know, it's weird. I mean, there's been first-person Gundam games before. Like, Gundam Side Story Blue Destiny, I want to say, was the first-person shooter, if I remember right. One of the Gundam Side Stories is. I don't remember which one. But I think this is the first one since then. And, given that this is a hero shooter, the format is very different. A lot of people have been calling it Gundam Overwatch, and to be honest with you, that's not really far from the truth, you know? Basically what you get is you get a bunch of different mobile suits that you can choose from as characters. In fact, let me find out the roster. As of right now, the roster is the Marasai from specifically the Unicorn version, the Gundam Exia from 00, the Jim from the original Gundam series, the Guntank from the original Gundam series, the Gundam from the original Gundam series, the Pale Rider from one of the Gundam side stories, the Zaku 2 from the original series, the Gundam Barbatos from Iron-Blooded Orphans, the Sazabi, which is Char's mobile suit from Char's Counterattack, the Methus from Zeta Gundam, the Turn A Gundam from Turn A, the Dom Trooper, which, since it's the Dom Trooper, it's actually the version from Seed, sadly, or Seed Destiny, but it plays like any other Dom, so, the Ashamar from Zeta, and then the Jim Sniper 2 from 0080. And it's an okay roster, but I wouldn't say that it's as, like, eye-catching of a roster as it could have been. You know? Because you think of a Gundam game, you think of, like, several different mobile suits that you can use. That would be, you know, really, really cool. So, there's a, you know, having the Sazabi and the original Gundam and the Pale Rider and the Zaku 2 and the Barbatos, like, that's really cool. But some of these mobile suits, some people have never fucking heard of. Very few people know what the Marasai is. Very few people know what the Ashamar is. You know, the Jim Sniper 2 shows up in Gundam 0080 to just get fucking nuked by somebody. Like, it's literally in 0080 for, like, 10 seconds. It's just people love it, and it's a really popular Gunpla kit because it's kit bashed a lot. A lot of people tend to turn that thing and like they recolor it like the Master Chief. And the problem that I have is just that like you could take some of these things and then put in other Gundams, and it would be more of an eye catch. Like with the Gym Sniper 2, you could have the Dynamis from 0080, or I'm not 0080, from Gundam 00. Instead of the Ashimar, you could have the Zeta Gundam, you know? Instead of the Gym, you could have fucking anything. You know? Same thing with the Marasai. With the Marasai, you could have, like, the Gundam Alex. Like, it's a little... It could... The roster could be better than what it is, basically. It's not as cool as it could be. Holy shit. 420 Getting throws in $25. It was for the cringe. And he says this is Hatman and the Misses in 15, 20 years from now. Okay, that'll be interesting.
Oh lordy.
If you made a Master Chief Gundam, it could be your prize of the bunch. Nope. No way it would be my prize of the bunch. My prize of the bunch is my Wing Zero Verka. There's not a single Gundam that I've built that is as good as that one. Either that or my Sentinel Phaz. That Verka. Because that fucking thing took a week to do. And that was just a snap build. That wasn't even like a custom painting like I'm doing with the Death Side in the other room. Because I finally got to get started on that. That's why I've got paint on my fingers. This bad boy. Which, some parts of it are actually already assembled. Like, here's, or the inner frame. Like, here's the torso. What else do I have in here? It's already done. And the legs are finished. The inner frame. And then we've got shoulder joints right here. And then the arms as well. So the hands and feet need to be constructed, and then it's just about and then the head, and then it's just about slapping it together. So yeah. But anyway, back on this. Now one thing I should say though is that the foundation of a really enjoyable video game is here. Each of the modes is fun to do. There's bomb disarming, there's capture, there's domination, point capture, and stuff like that. You know, it's kind of like the game modes are more in common with TF2. And the balance of the mobile suits isn't that bad. Oddly enough. Like, for a network test, like, it could be way worse. The only suit that I would say is a little bit much is the Sazabi. The Sazabi is kind of insane. Because it's not as slow as it really should be, in my opinion. It's got a shotgun. There's a lot of close quarters combat in this. And it can throw its melee weapon. So, the potential for it to do damage is insane. The basic idea is if you turn the corner and there's a Sazabi there, you're dead. So, that thing needs a little bit of adjustment. What else is there? There's also some lag problems. But then again, it's a network test. So, I'm not really expecting there not to be lag issues, but there were points where it was pretty bad. Like, I would hit a button and then the attack would come out for like a full second afterwards. So, at the same time, there's a lot of fun to be had. The only thing is we found this out yesterday because I was streaming this, that there were a lot of like sweaty players that were playing it. They were like playing it to constantly rack up wins. And I'm like, it's a network test. It's a network test. We're not actually being ranked. Like there is no competitive ranked Gundam evolution right now, my dudes. Like, holy shit! It's just a bunch of dudes like with an IV full of fucking monster at their keyboards, like must win everything. It's like, Jesus Christ, calm down. It's okay. I fear for our youth in the future if this is what's going when you're playing that sweaty in a fucking a network test. It's not even the beta. Like the game's not even in beta yet. What the fuck? Oh man. Some people are just not well adjusted.
No.
So, but needless to say, for a game that's going to be free to play, I do dig it. I do see myself playing more of it. Again, the only thing that I am not just a fan of is just the roster could be better than what it is. You know, on the flip side, though, they probably just want this to be the base roster. So that way, when they bring in characters later on that you can purchase or something like that, then they'll make a lot of money off of them. Because they're obviously saving some of the more well-known mobile suits for something you can pour actual money into. Because the instant they say Wing Zero for $5, they're going to make a lot of money. If they say Death Scythe for $5, they're going to make a lot of money. And hopefully people's gears start turning there. Like Zeta Gundam, that's a lot of money. They're you know, it's free-to-play model is a good way to make cash. You know, it really is. But it was pretty fun though. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of potential there. So I personally though hope that instead of like making you pay for characters, you just pay for skins. You know. But we'll have to see what happens. And Hardball, there's no way that Microsoft would ever lend Bandai a hand. They're not going to put like a Master Chief version of anything in this. Not to mention it's going to be on PlayStation as well, so that's just not going to happen.
I mean, they did it for Fortnite, but
yeah, but that's Futnut.
No.
You know, Futnut is kind of too big to put those restrictions on. You'd piss off a lot of people.
The existence of Fortnite pisses me off, so
yeah,
I guess we're even.
What I will say, though, is there is going to be another Gundam-oriented network test. Battle Operation 2 is coming to PC, and then that test is next week. So I will be playing that as well, and I'll be reporting on it. So that one I'm really looking forward to on top of that. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on to talking Indiegogo stuff. So, a friend of the show, Von Klaus, who has been on my channel many times to discuss writing and things like that. He's a good buddy. Has a new book on Indiegogo called Terror in the Trenches. In fact, allow me to link it in the chat. He's doing very well with it, by the way, too. For those of you who don't know Von Klaus by his name, he is the writer and creator of Monster MD. And he's a great guy. He's one of my favorite people to just talk shop with when it comes to writing and kind of bounce ideas off of him. He was actually one of the test readers as well for 3 Nights. And he thought he loved it. He's like, dude, this book is amazing. So, given that he's been such a big supporter of me, I feel the need to help him out a bit. So Vaughn has this book on Indiegogo. He's doing very well in the crowdfunding. He's almost at $62,000 and over 1,000 backers.
Nice.
He he's having some issues with Indiegogo. Somebody reported his campaign for a terms of service violation, saying that and they're telling him that one of his tiers is causing problems. The problem is that they're not communicating exactly what that is. And now we're starting to run into issues. So, how did this whole thing get started? It all got started by a dumb koala. A dumb koala named Liam Gray. Now, Liam got into a Spurg fight with John Delarose. Somebody else that I'm not a fan of either. You know, he and I are never going to get along. But one thing that I have always maintained is that even with the people you don't like, you do not attempt to get them censored. Because at the end of the day, I believe people are good enough to know when somebody is not on the level. And they can figure that out for themselves. And Liam managed to get John Delarose kicked off of Indiegogo for a cover of a book that he was doing that was making fun of Liam. So, what Liam, because he is a dumb koala, did not understand is that he opened the floodgates with that. Now, anybody can misinterpret or reinterpret the terms of service at Indiegogo for their own purposes to get people censored on the platform. And that's a problem. That is a big problem. Because Indiegogo, crowdfunding in general, is meant to help people who don't have the funds or investment, that can't go to a bank and get a big loan to get something produced, to go out, put their idea out there, and then get the money to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, what you're basically doing, if anybody, and this isn't just Liam, but this is anybody who reports campaigns like this to try to get him taken down, what you are doing is not just hurting somebody in the present, you're also hurting them in the future. Because you're basically saying that these people should not be able to make a living ever. That their ideas should never be able to have a platform to be kicked off of.
Mm-hmm.
That is vile. Absolutely fucking vile. Not to mention, the same measure can get used against you. How many times have we seen people out there that, for better or worse, champion cancel culture? And then they turn around and it happens to them. Doug TenNapel's a good example of that. Doug TenNapel got ass mad because Cecil, who's a Comicsgate guy, made a parody of Doug called Dirtworm Doug. Because Doug TenNapel's a pile of trash. And Doug encouraged people to flag the campaign. Now, it didn't go anywhere. And then what happened next? When Doug did got a cover done for Bigfoot Bill by Sean Gordon Murphy, who he's known for a while, Sean Gordon Murphy almost got canceled for it, and then he pulled the cover. And then he complained about cancel culture. It's like, you tried to do the exact same fucking thing, dude. You opened the floodgates for that. But people tend to forget these things. People tend to forget that these measures they don't. They're nothing but mutually assured destruction. You're basically becoming the crab in the bucket. Nobody gets to become bigger. Nobody gets to make money. Everybody gets dragged down. And it's horrifying. It's horrifying to see because I'm somebody with no shortage of people who hate me. You know. I mean, Hatman and I have had people that go back as far as the meme war who hate us.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is something that I admittedly worry about with every campaign I do. You know. And from what I remember, people had talked about trying to get the first Englewood book pulled from Indiegogo somehow.
Mm-hmm.
So, the question is, what do we do? Well, obviously, the people who champion cancel culture, you should not support them. They deserve none of your money. Ever. You know? Never, 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 never. They don't deserve your money.
Nope.
And you try to help boost up the people that, you know, are the victims of this. So in this particular case, because Vaughn is such a good dude, let's actually have a look at his campaign. So, Terror in the Trenches Volume 1. Black Terror must don his dark mantle once again when super vengeful Nazis bomb his hood. It's Bruce Timm on steroids. I like that. So Terror in the Trenches is a 78-page Dark Avenger action epic, the first in a brutal trilogy. Black Terror and his fear-inducing terror gas made him the boogeyman of the trenches in World War II. 30 years later, he's gone back from black-clad superhero to humble New York City pharmacist Dr. Robert Benton. When vengeful super-Nazis, so not just Nazis, super-Nazis,
Super Nazis,
known as the Black Reich, bomb his hood into oblivion, he must don the dark mantle once again and fight for his life in the trenches that were his streets against the darkest sins that come back to haunt him. Evil will know terror again in Terror in the Trenches. And this is the exact same creative team, I believe, from Monster MD. So Vaughn is obviously the writer, and then the artist and colorist are the same as well. And one thing you'll notice as I scrolled through the art is that Vaughn, because he is was a film school student, is really, really good with angles. He has an understanding of them better than a lot of people in comics. And to be honest with you, that's actually one thing that I would actually tell people if I were to give people advice if they want to start learning how to do comics, is learn what camera angles are. Hatman's edited my scripts. He can tell you. Like, that's something I do all the time, is I reference certain types of camera angles.
Yep.
So, needless to say, though, this looks really, really good. I love the color work on it. It's got a great energy to it. It feels like there's motion. And that's something that I really feel like some comic artists really aren't able to do. And this just has a really, really good feel to it. And I love the imagery that's there whenever these people are being affected by this gas, that sphere gas. It is a bloody romp, to say the least. It looks fantastic. Love the art style, too.
Oh, yeah, it looks really good.
The thing is, I'm noticing with Vaughn is, like, he really likes doing characters that are doctors that become heroes. Because that was Monster MD in a nutshell, and this is the exact same thing. Only this time it's a pharmacist instead of a surgeon. So, and it's already halfway finished. Expect a fast turnaround with frequent updates as we go. And then he has a whole biography in the thing. There's a whole bunch of extra stuff too. There's also a Preston Acevedo sketch on here that you can get your hands on, which I would definitely recommend because Preston's the fucking man. So I will let you guys go through the whatchamacallits of the details of it on your own time, but definitely check it out. I'm gonna once again link this in the chat. I think it's definitely going to be worth it. I'm pretty sure he's going in demand, so once I have money again, I will be picking this up as well. The one tier that... Which one has the Preston stuff? Well, if you want the painting, it's still $1,000. So, needless to say, it looks fantastic. I'm excited for Vaughn. He's doing really, really well when it comes to comic books, and he's gonna have a good career when it comes to it for sure. He'll get past this if we help him out. So needless to say, though, these type of sickos and their love of just canceling people and their unwillingness to see the forest before the trees is horrifying. And this sort of shit just needs to needs to go away. It just needs to die already. So, Vaughn is just the writer, hard-boiled. Also, where is everybody today? So... Okay. Let's go ahead and move on, I guess, to the next topic. Unless, Hatman, you have something to add on that one.
Not really, except to say Von Klaus is the fucking man and Indiegogo is a shit.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and discuss our next topic. So... One thing I want to preface this is that what I am about to say is not personal. It is more of a statement of reality, and we will try to give our perspective on it while being respectful to all parties. So, your boy Zach, Richard C. Meyer, is a bit behind. His most recent Jawbreakers book is a year late, and he says he sent off the print file last month, I think, and he has not updated it since. So it could be printing right now. But, he's been doing some videos lately defending, like, late books and stuff. And I'm gonna be honest about something. The reason I haven't backed any of Richard's stuff for a bit is because a lot of it isn't really up my alley. It's just a personal taste thing. He's been doing, like, political stuff. Like, his most recent book is, like, about a guy on TikTok getting involved in the war in Ukraine.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's been doing this for the last couple of years. And I'm gonna be honest with everybody. I still believe that injecting politics, especially modern day politics, into comics is cringe. And I don't think it has a place because it dates it.
Very yes.
You need to be, in my opinion, you should aim for timeless work. But then again, I run my business differently. But I wanted specifically to speak to the idea of saying that late books is just a part of crowdfunding and things of that nature. No, they're not. And they shouldn't be. And I say this as somebody who has written 2 books that are late. Now granted, we're at 99% fulfillment on 3 Nights Part 1. But as Hatman could attest, he's not a fan of how slow the process has been. And
no, it makes my life that much more difficult.
Yeah. And when it comes to handling and managing the creative end of things like I do, it's not fun to be late. Because you've got people on your ass constantly about how late the book is. And the you can't, in my opinion, you can't make excuses when it comes to that. You really can't. Because it's not really part of crowdfunding. And if it's part of crowdfunding, it's something that shouldn't be. Just to give, my experience. One thing I have learned is that you kind of learn, the pace of the people you're working with. 3 Nights, 4 Days Part 2 probably will not be in people's hands until next year. And when we launch the campaign, the due date will be 1 year from when it launches. And a lot of the reason for that is because Preston is so high in demand as an artist that people will throw money at him to do covers for them. And they pay very well. So if he's got to answer the question of, am I going to do 1 page of this comic for X amount of dollars, or do I do this cover for another X amount of dollars that's a higher number than the page rate? Which, generally speaking, cover work pays better than page rates. Thank you for the gift sub, 420 Gunny. When it comes down to that, you have to ask yourself, how do we set the pace properly? And what do you need to do when it comes to these situations? And in my opinion, the best thing that you can do to aid things is to have contingency plans. In my particular case, with Englewood Book 2, I had noticed that Brian hadn't turned in a page in a while. And I tend to be the type of person, I don't like to micromanage people. Unless I have to. And I just tell people, it's you don't want me to be in the place where I have to micromanage. Because then I turn into a drill sergeant. But then again, at that point, I have to. Or else it's just not going to get done. Mm-hmm. So what did I do when I saw that Brian was behind? Well, it's very simple. I had 1 of 2 options. I could set the due date. I could change it on Indiegogo, and I could set it 6 months from, at the end of the year. Which would also mean that I would have to delay other books that I have planned further back. Or I could find an artist that is also very talented, that my colorist can still do the work on. And from there, they can do part of the book, and then the other artist can do the other part of the book, and it gets done that much fucking faster. So that's what I did. I hired Rafael Testrani, and he is almost done with a third of the book, pencil and ink wise. And he's doing a tremendous job with it. And he and I are going to work together again. And that's essentially what I like as the writer I recommend is meet artists, put them in your personal Rolodex, and keep an idea of how busy they are. If they're not busy at all, or if they're not that busy and they've got a really good work pace, keep that in mind. Because you can at that point, use that to your advantage. You can call them up and say, hey, are you looking for some extra work? And if the answer is yes, then you got it. Because most artists, like, they'll tell you, hey, you know, I need work. I need stuff. And I need to build, I want to build my portfolio, etc., etc. So, that's what happened. And let me just show you guys what the results are. I don't even know if Hatman has seen this page yet. But this is a 2-page spread that will be in Englewood Book 2. And he did an amazing job with it. And at the end of the day, in my opinion, the one thing that you have to do as the creative head is just make sure that you're on this. Because it's not, you know, you can't assume that you're going to constantly get returns year after year after year every time you're late. We have not. And we're dealing with that, you know. Obviously, Englewood Book 2, we don't even have 200 backers on it. You know, but when 3 Nights came out, we had 200 backers within a month. You know, there will be diminishing returns. Because at the end of the day, and this is something especially that needs to be considered from the perspective of a lot of people that were in and around Comicsgate, or I guess you could say independent creators who lean to the, you know, the right of Stalin, or constantly discuss the zeitgeist. One thing to consider is we said that we wanted to be an alternative to the mainstream. The only way we're going to build our business up to the point where we can be that alternative is if we are doing our best to compete in every way, shape, and form. Not just how much money you make on a single campaign, but how much money you make in, or how many comics you can get and how much your business is growing. That's the big thing. And the fact of the matter is that late books are going to kill it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something Hatman and I have learned, is that people's patience only goes so far. You can't sit there and preach about the necessity of alternatives and then not put in the work yourself. Also, one person in the chat got what that 2-page spread was a reference to. Everybody thinks it's JoJo. It's Fist of the North Star. It came way before JoJo. So. And by the way, I'm not trying to be mean by what I'm saying. And I'm not saying that there are people who are behind that aren't cognizant of being behind. You know? In my opinion, if you are behind, the best thing you can do is just give progress updates. Say, the big thing I say is give a percentage. I think a lot of people really appreciate percentages. Like, the book is such and such % done. Here's where we are with this, here's where we are with this, here's where we are with this.
Mm-hmm.
You know? It's, you know, like with Englewood Book 2, I put in the last one that the pencils are 45% done. Now they're at 50. And then the colors are like literally right behind it at like 40%. Because Armand is just... Hatman, do me a favor. 3 quick successive snaps of your fingers. Thank you. Like that quick. He's doing awesome work. So, when it comes right down to it, the solution is to just think of the contingencies. And sometimes you just kind of got to swallow your pride and roll with it. Because, I'm going to be honest, I want to get to a point where there's monthly issues of Englewood going out to comic book shops, where there's monthly issues of Project Lazarus going out to comic book shops, where you can walk into a comic book shop and you can get a collected edition of 3 Nights, 4 Days, stuff like that. And we will get there someday, in my opinion. I really believe we can do it. It's just about getting the support. And for those of you in chat, if you have not backed Englewood yet, we need your support. So, ! Comics will bring up the my comics page on Indiegogo. Back Englewood Book 2. Like, we're less than 1,500 away from that Preston cover, guys. Less than 1,500. If you have not backed the book, please do. If you back the book and you have a friend that would be interested in the book, back it again. And then that way you can get them a copy. Exactly.
Gifts. Easter gifts.
Exactly.
Gifts for the hell of it.
Exactly. So, when it comes right down to it, though, with crowdfunding, just the big thing is just don't make excuses. Do what you can to create results. Once you're able to do that, you're gonna find yourself in a position where there really needs to be, or you just are going to feel, or as a creator, much better about what you're doing. Always make sure that your customer is happy. And if they're not, do what you can with that to try to make them happy. Chaos Sonic threw in a buck that I missed. I said, sorry I'm late, been busy with gas and food. As for late comics, RGE won't put up a new comic until Blade Devil's printed is sent. Which is honorable, but at the same time, and I know RGE, I've known him for years, he's probably of the opinion that he wishes that it was done already so he could do the next one. And that's sort of where you're at, is that sort of thing is honorable, but you can only do that so many times before your business starts to shrink. So, alright. Final topic of the week. So, Elon Musk. I actually had this discussion, Hatman was not here for it, where we talked about Elon Musk was actually saying on Twitter on whether or not he should buy Twitter. And we discussed me in the chat, we discussed the ideas of, should he start a new platform? Or should he just buy a part of Twitter? And I actually argued for him buying it. And there's a reason for it. Name one Twitter alternative that has actually been a success.
If anyone says Gab, I'm going to look very disrespectfully at you.
I might point my finger at the door at, Hatman, would you like to see 2 ways to offend Andrew Torba?
Sure.
Here's 2 things that really offend Andrew Torba. Oh, God.
Sorry, what were you talking about? I got distracted for a moment.
Me too. But Andrew Torba is a censorious little fuck. You know,
Yeah.
he's a hypocrite. And then every other one except for Minds is like just conservative Twitter.
Yeah, well, is mine's more Twitter or Facebook alternative?
Yes.
Like it kind of yeah, it kind of combines elements of both. So
Um. So yeah, the so in my opinion, um, the the only solution is to actually use money. Chaos Sonic throws in a bucket and says, "No, Micah, you were imagining the ass that goes along with those boobs." I am an ass man. This is true. But I'm of the opinion that Andrew Torba, like every other like fucking weird far right guy, which don't start with me. He actually has said he is. Like that's there's a lot of them that are closeted homosexuals or closeted perverts. And I will say right now, I am not a closeted pervert. I am very open about the fact that I really like women. So, and I am not going to not gonna hide it. But the point being is that the fact of the matter is that one thing that Gab and Getter and what was the other? Not Minds, the other conservative Twitter.
which one? Trump's Truth Social that isn't even off the ground technically yet.
Well, yes, this is not off the ground. I'm not gonna Parlor. Like so, those
There you go. Yeah, Parler.
like fucking Getter is conservative Twitter. Parlor is conservative Twitter. That's it. And fucking Gab is Nazi land. Like fucking and no, we're not kidding. It really is. So the question is like where's the appeal for the normie? Where's the appeals to the person who posts cat videos? Where's the appeal? You know? Stuff like that. It's not there. So there's no growth potential. It's the same thing, like all tech in general has no growth potential. None of it does. Because the reasons that those companies get started are they don't really consider certain ideas. Like, the statement of we are a free speech platform, we are not going to censor people. You think about the people that have been censored from some of these platforms, some of them unjustly. But others that were talking about killing heads of state, you're kind of like, well, that's kind of a crazy I don't want to see in my feed. Actually, Crystal Hydra puts it well. They're spite companies. And spite business is not sustainable business. Because people only stay mad for so long. It's sort of the reason why I knew that BitChute was going to fall apart. And was never going to go anywhere. So, when it comes right down to it, there's no reason that people who have different principles than that of Silicon Valley, given that so many of these companies in Silicon Valley are publicly traded, that you can't just go be super fucking rich and just go buy stock in it and get on the board. What's stopping you? Oh, well, I might lose money. You might, or your influence might be the one thing that gets people back on the fucking platform and makes you more money. Think about it, dummy. And Elon Musk is a smart guy. I keep saying this. He's one powered armor away from being Tony Stark. Just with a funny accent and more pot smoking.
Well, it depends on what podcast he goes on.
Fair point. Chaos Hunter goes in a bucket and says, the only one that I can think is a good alternative to Twitter is Minds, but it's barely used in Barug, but that is more of a Tumblr alternative. There you go. So...
Don't remind me of Tumblr.
So let's...
I wish this was full of vodka.
So... In my opinion, what Elon Musk did was brilliant. You're a billionaire. You're the richest man in the world. You see a problem with this company. You think you've got the right ideas. What is stopping you from going and buying it? Nothing. Absolutely fucking nothing. It's sort of like people who I thought this was funny is like complain about the WWE. I'm like, buy stock. Buy a ton of stock on it. You know, then you'll have more influence. This is capitalism. There's ways to make this work if you're smart enough. This is actually something that I hear the anarcho-capitalists and libertarians say all the fucking time. Not getting into politics here, but capitalism is a place where your brain can make a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
And solutions can be thought up, you know? And Elon Musk has solutions. It's what he does. It's how he's made as much money as he does. You can't make an electric car affordable. In the next 10 years, they'll have done it. Because, like, Teslas are at a point where their costs are getting lower and lower. And now it's at a point where, like, high-end middle-class people are buying these things. There's going to be a point within the next decade that you're going to see Teslas in more places, and you're going to see electronic charging stations in more places.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to happen. And he'll have done it straight through the market. You know? A smart person can find these things. And that's what he's doing. So, we are going to start seeing changes, hopefully, over at Twitter. Because he owns more... he owns more of a share of Twitter than anybody. He's technically the highest shareholder. Hatman, I'm asking a question.
Oh, sorry. Kind of zoned out for a second. One more time.
He has the highest percentage of stock of anybody in Twitter, right?
He owns not a controlling stake, but a majority of the stock. Yeah, 10%. Okay. He owns 10% of Twitter. That's more than the CEO owns.
Yeah. So they have to put him on the board at that point. There's no way they can't.
He is on the board.
Yeah. Well, that's why I say he's there.
Yeah. I mean, when you're largest shareholder, yeah, you kind of are owed a seat at the table.
Exactly. I mean, for those of you who are comic book fans, that's why there was an arc at one point where I think it was Bruce Wayne bought a certain percentage of LexCorp and got himself on the board to fuck with Lex. Like, it's doable. There's no reason not to do it. So, Hatman, what do you think comes next for Twitter after this? How much?
A lot of screaming and crying.
Well, that's already happened. People are already losing their minds over the fact that he did this.
Oh yes,
and it's fucking glorious.
It's hilarious. Probably what we're gonna see next beyond that is a fucking walkout, which will be hilarious because what the fuck are they going to do? Like, you can't force Elon Musk into selling his shares.
Well, yeah, that's what I think. He's probably just going to say, anybody who walks out gets fired. We'll hire new people.
he'd probably just buy more. Like if they pulled the walk out and just be like, I'm buying another 10%. I don't care.
That'd be glorious. I love this guy.
Like what the fuck are you going to do? I mean, and here's the thing though. Whatever ideas he does come up with, yeah, he is going to have to fight against the current there. Because we all know that Twitter is full of assholes that want these things in place to basically, keep their interests on top. Elon Musk wants things to be a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Equal playing field, for lack of whatever the fuck term I'm trying to think of.
Yeah.
No one idea, no one narrative gets more privilege than the other.
Yes.
And of course, no shadow bans and that shit. And an edit button. For God's sake, an edit button. The one thing people have been asking for years.
Yeah, just give us a time to edit button. You have 2 minutes to edit your tweet.
Yeah. Or do it like how Facebook does it. Under the little this tweet was edited thing or this comment was edited thing, it has the entire history of what the comment looked like before.
Yeah.
That fucking simple. But he's going to get pushback because 1, he's Elon Musk. 2, he is Elon Musk, the billionaire, and billionaire's bad. And 3, he is Elon Musk, the billionaire, who does not align politically with the interests of the majority of people working at Twitter, and therefore gigabad, do not want, run far away, protest.
Yeah.
How he is going to actually influence Twitter, I don't know. I just hope that he does influence Twitter.
I think that at this point, this is basically the way that I spelled it out was the way to improve social media companies in general is the idea of what some people say is a pure free speech platform is never going to exist. Because if I get onto a social media platform, you know what I don't want to see? I don't like commie posting. Mm-hmm. I don't like Nazi posting. I don't like Fed posting, which is basically Nazi posting, but more obvious that they're a Fed. And I don't like people threatening to kill people and shit like that. I don't like it. I don't like seeing it. So, if there's a terms of service that says you can't wish death on people, you can't harass people, things like that, if the terms of service makes sense, and on top of that, it is equally applied to everybody. Meaning, if you're threatening to kill somebody in the name of Allah, or you're threatening to kill somebody in the name of Hitler, you're banned either way. Which means, of course, anybody from Palestine is not going to be on Twitter for very long. But point being is that it needs to be clear cut and it needs to be, equal rules for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem that a lot of these companies have had for so long, is that, if you don't have it'll feel like, honestly, if you don't have the right political opinion, you're not allowed to be on this platform, or you're not allowed to grow on it, which is what shadow banning is. So, this is what I would suggest to all of these rich people who are to the right of Stalin. You don't like what these publicly traded companies, and I really wish the words publicly traded companies, I could put it up in neon lights and underline it 3 fucking times and throw it in people's faces. Publicly traded companies. You don't like what they're doing? Fucking buy part of them and make them do what they should be doing. Because at that point, they have to honor it.
Gotta love how the the thinking got reversed. But Twitter is its own company; it can do whatever it wants. Then Elon Musk buys a large chunk of.
Yeah,
Twitter.
he goes, well, I've got money. I could do whatever I want. Like, exactly. It kind of reminds me of the I don't remember. I was playing a fighting game, I want to say, with somebody, and we it was like, I don't know what to do with this guy is hitting me. I'm like, hit him back. What the fuck you doing? You know what the rules are. You know how to do things. Fucking do it. Don't make excuses. And don't go with the fucking government, for God's sake. Outthink the fucker. That's what he's doing. And I wish more people would put their fucking money where their mouth is. If these companies are publicly traded, there's no reason you can't invest in them and try to see what you can do, if you're a wealthy person, to grab a chunk and steer it in a different direction. Because otherwise, you come across as the guy who lives in his home, wonders why it smells bad when he hasn't taken the trash out for 3 weeks. You know what to do. Fucking do it. Alright. It is that time. Let us get to the Q&A. As always, if you're a subscriber to the channel, you get top priority in our Discord server. So hit that subscribe button if you have not done so already. So, start off, Acorn Soup wants to know, since we were on the topic of Disney alternatives last week, how do you think the Daily Wire would do animated movie adaptations of classic fairy tales? Depends on who they hire. And we don't know who's working with them right now. You know?
You also got to take into account some of those fairy tales are like really fucking dark.
Yeah, and done by Disney already.
Yeah, well, Disney cleaned them up. That's the thing. Like,
yeah,
the original Little Mermaid has a much happier ending than the fairy tale Little Mermaid.
Oh yeah.
So, and that's just one. Like, we're not even going to get into, Cinderella's evil stepsisters mutilating their feet.
Yeah.
Shit gets dark real quick, so...
Very. Chaos Sonic throws in a buck, says, did we talk about Sonic 2 or Morbius? No. We did not.
No.
Because...
I have not seen either one of them.
Me neither.
I really want to see Sonic 2 at some point, but... Life! Everything!
Yeah.
I hope. Fingers crossed, y'all.
So yeah, it's just gonna depend on who they hire. 420 Gunny wants to know, in a future Spider-Man movie, what do you think about James McAvoy as Kraven the Hunter? Nah.
No. I don't see it.
I don't like that idea.
I don't see it.
If I was gonna cast somebody to play Kraven the Hunter, I'd cast Richard Armitage.
It's not a bad idea.
RPX wants to know, when will you stream making peach pie, Hatman?
As I answered in there, I've never made peach pie. I've never made pie of any sort. In fact, I'm really not good at baking at all. That's Mrs. Hatman's specialty. So it will not be me. I might do another chili cook-off stream, maybe, but that's about it. I need to get more venison before I do another one of those.
When we get me out to North Carolina, I'm getting a smoker. We're gonna smoke some meats. We're gonna smoke all of the meat.
Yes. Hell yes.
Optimus has already said that he's down for the noodling trip.
Fuck it.
I actually want to try to smoke catfish. Just to see what happens. I want to smoke mesquite catfish. So yeah. Let's see here. Hardbolt says, building on what Servant said about Disney stock plummeting, and what you said about Twitter, would you say someone like Elon Musk taking advantage of that, simply buying up Disney could be a solution to the problem? Yes. I think, but I would say that about just about any wealthy individual that is, again, to the right of Stalin. You know? Like, me personally, if I had the money to buy, like, a good percentage of Disney to where they have to put me on the board, I'd do it. And I would go in there and I would be a pain in the ass. There's no reason why other people can't do it. If you got the money, do it. Because at the end of the day, like, unless you're going to try to build the alternative and actually build an alternative and know how to build the alternative, there's no reason you can't do a monetary takeover. Nothing's stopping you if you got the cash. This is capitalism. Cash gets you everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Derek Mozzarella wants to know, what do you think the odds that Indiana Jones 5 will be good? On the one hand, James Mangold is a great director, and Mads Mikkelsen's in it. On the other, Harrison Ford's pushing 80, and it's made by a current Lucasfilm. Also may deal with time travel.
If it deals with time travel, it's done.
Yeah. No, thank you.
It's done.
50-50, I think.
I defend Kingdom of the Crystal Skull on the grounds that it's at least plausible as far as, like, weird ancient alien shit goes. Like, it's plausible the same way that the others are. Because, yeah, Indiana Jones does deal with things that are kind of beyond our comprehension. Time travel, on the other hand, is one of those things where, unless you are executing it pretty much perfectly, or you set very clear ground rules from the outset, which very few properties do, you fuck it up. Especially if the movie is built entirely around it. Looper being, like, the go-to example I give all the time.
Let's see here. Servant has a question. He says, saw CEO Bob Chapek said that he was going to be a better ally. I kept seeing on Twitter that Disney lost $2.4 billion in either stock or share value. Where do you go to confirm that? And is it real? So let's use the Google. That is where I go all the time to check stocks. Okay, so let's have a look here. So let's look over the last 5 days. And when did he say that? It was a few
Chapek, it was a couple weeks ago, I believe.
Was it 2 weeks ago?
It was, yeah, because it was before they I think it was an investor call or something, or right afterwards.
Yeah,
because he said they weren't going to do anything about the bill in Florida, and then he got shat all over. And he's like, okay, well, I guess I'll do better now.
So this was last weekend. So there have been dips in Disney stock since the 6th. So the last 4 days. Have they lost billions? I don't know. But it went from 135 down to 131 Lowest it's been has been $130 per share. So compare that to on the 4th where it was at 138. And let's look at a month ago. The highest point was the end of last month. They were at $142. Let's look at 6 months. They've been steadily dropping since November of last year, where their stock price was at $175. So they've lost $40 in their per share.
So 22%, I guess, over the last 6 months.
Yeah, and let's take a full year. So around this time last year, their stock was at $186 a share. So $55 less per share is that. So so what is 55 divided by 186? So that's almost a 30% drop in share value over the course of 1 year. So it's actually not part of just... I would say that's not the sole reason we're seeing a drop. I think that it's just the newest in a long line of screw-ups that is seeing a drop in it. As in billions? I don't know. I don't know how to calculate that, honestly. Because the funny thing is... in last year, their stock was the highest it had been in 5 years. So actually, let me show you guys what I'm looking at, because I've been doing this whole time and you guys can't see what I'm looking at. So here is the height of the last 5 years. So this is March of last year, where it peaked at 190 something. 197 on April the 1st. No, not April the 1st. March the 12th of last year. 5 years ago, it was at 114. By the way, this was like 5 years ago would be the peak of the MCU. So that's where it was at that time. The lowest spot is right here, March of 2020, which would have been beginning of the pandemic. And that was down to $85. So the idea that they're losing a bunch... They haven't had a drop-off like this over the course of a year that I can think of in my lifetime. Because over the course of a year, this is a pretty substantial downward trend. They're not as low as they've been. Like, this is something they can come back from. But the fact that they are going as low as they are should be something in the back of their minds. You know? So that's basically where they're at. Sorry about that. I hit the wrong button. So hopefully that answers that question. Brawler wants to know, did we see the episode of The Morning Wire that he posted? No. I have not. He says it explains why so many companies, including Disney, have become so divisive recently. It's not something that's even been recent. I mean, this goes back to the Frankfurt School. And the what I guess you could call the injection of cultural Marxism into the institutions, into the education institution.
Critical theory.
Yeah, critical theory. Basically, a bunch of people graduated from colleges and, you know, were, for better or worse, indoctrinated into that. Hatman could attest. He went to a school that did it.
Mm-hmm.
And those people are now getting jobs at these major entertainment companies. I got a piece of it when I worked at Blistered Thumbs. That was 10 years ago. That was part of the reason I got fired. And why, as being a Christian, I was seen as an oppressor. You know? So yeah, I already knew the reason. Ooh, I got something cool to show off before we hit to the chat questions.
Ooh, cool things.
This is a low res, but this is from Englewood Book 2. This is Brian's art.
Ooh, I like Brian's art. Ooh, I know what that scene is.
Oh, yeah. So, things are coming along quite nicely, to say the least. I don't know how many pages that puts us at completion. Let me look. Come on, computer. I know you got it in you. There you go. So, colors, that puts us at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 21 pages colored out of 66, so it's a little under a third of the way done, color-wise. So yeah, things are going well, to say the least. Alright, what do we got from the chat? So, Crystal Hydra says, what do we do about all these people who have been indoctrinated? Even if we take back the companies and institutions, we still have a problem with this army of zealots causing issues. You don't stop. That's the big thing. You don't stop. Too many people that just get complacent and stop. You don't. Ever. Leonardo Juan wants to know, have you ever seen the anime series Tiger and Bunny? He
really
recommends
familiar.
it. I haven't heard of it.
Sounds familiar, but no, it's not ringing a bell.
Let's see here. Mab wants to know, do you think it would be better for crowdfunding for books to be made first and then start it? Well, no, because how are you going to pay the artist? You know? And if you have the money to start a book, you know, you might as well consider, like, you know, what are you crowdfunding for at that point? Because if you have the money to pay for the whole book up front, which is thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Thousands of dollars. Then what do you need the crowdfund for is the question. You know, do you need it for the shipping costs and the printing costs? If so, that's understandable. And at that point it just becomes just a pre-order. You know? So, I mean, it just depends on how you want to run your business, but at the end of the day, like, you could always just publish it through Amazon. Or, you know, place orders from comic book shops that are interested in it. And, then what they pay you will cover the cost of printing and shipping. Because they would have to pay for that. So I don't really think at that point crowdfunding is even necessary. I mean, Hatman and I have talked about this. When our comic business gets to the point where we don't need crowdfunding, we're not going to do it. I personally don't like it. Honestly. I do it because I have to. Not because I want to.
You got to have a lot of capital built up before you don't got to do it anymore.
Yeah. Crowdfunding is very stressful. It's very, very stressful.
Yes, it is.
Like, there have been days, like, before a campaign launches, and Hatman can attest to this, where I have been throwing up out of sheer nervousness. Whenever we've got an active campaign, I barely sleep. Like, it's very, 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 very stressful. So, 420 Getting asked if Discord is giving me problems. No. Not really. And I don't see anything else in the in the chat. Nope, we got all of them. So yeah. Well, let's go ahead and get to the cringe. I think some people in the chat missed that we answered their questions. So maybe they had to reload Twitch or something. But we got everybody. So let me... Also, one thing that's really nice is I'm actually able to, like, start typing with my left hand now. It's kind of cool. The only downside is that, like, when I stretch my hand out like this, it actually hurts. Like, if I just extend my fingers all the way. But it doesn't... The ring finger isn't what hurts. It's the center of my hand. And I realize that the reason for it is because I haven't actually gripped anything with my left hand in 2 months. So it wouldn't be surprising if there's some atrophy there.
Yeah, about to say, grip strength is going to be...
Yeah.
Seriously affected.
Because as Hatman can tell you, I've got crazy grip strength. At full strength.
Yes. Yes. Shake the man's hand once. See what happens.
You remember in those old cartoons, guys, where, like, you grip somebody's hand and, like, they shake your hand and it feels like you're going to get, like, tossed up and down like that?
And your hand just, like, crumples afterwards? Yeah.
Yeah.
For real.
There were a couple people when we were at ICMI, when I shook their hand, afterwards they shook their hand out.
Yeah. That was funny.
Your fingers have the density of carrots. They kind of... You're not wrong. I mean, again, for those who don't know, here is a... Well, for those who don't know how big my feet are, even. Here's one of my shoes. This is a size 13 wide. For comparison... This is a 40-ounce water bottle, right? My shoe is almost is bigger than that. So that's the size of my feet. Now, here is a regular US-sized comic book. There's my hand.
Big shit.
One of the funniest moments I ever had on a live stream is it might have been with Liam or it might have been with somebody else, where I was holding up a comic and they went, "Hold on a minute. Put your whole hand up to that comic book." And I did, and they're like, "Good fucking Lord. Like, you're gigantic." Like, yeah, I'm not as tall as other big guys. Now, but the thing is, saying that is really weird because I'm 6'2". Like, I'm slumping in my chair right now, and my head is still over the top. This is if I sit up straight. So yeah, I am a very large individual. Am I Bigfoot or Yeti? Neither. I'm just a silverback. Because Bigfoot, Yeti, those are really tall. I'm not that tall. You know, I have cousins who are taller than me. I'm not even the biggest guy in my family on my mother's side. So, okay. Am I slowly evolving into Potemkin? Maybe. Maybe. Okay. So for 420 Gunny, we have some Married with Children. So we can't watch the whole clip, but we have to pause it a minute in. Oh, we have a another question from RPX. Says, what is our stance on Kenichi Sonata's Roadbuster? Never even heard of it.
Neither have I.
Might as well be talking about fucking Digimon again with me. I have no clue. Alright, so let me send Hatman the link to this over the Discord. Boss wonders, my adoptive family or my direct family? So, adoptive family. So, on my mother's side, I am the smallest of my grandfather's grandchildren. I'm the shortest, rather. My cousins Matt and Doug are 2 inches taller than me each. My cousins Josh and Gabe is 2 inches taller. Josh is 5 inches taller. He's 6'7". My little cousin Ryan is also 6'4". So, and that's all the boys. So I am the shortest. Now, on the flip side, I am the strongest out of all of us. So that is something that I'm very proud of. Is I'm ridiculously strong. So finally getting stronger than my older cousin Josh was a big thing for me because he's huge. So to get my static strength up to that level was pretty big. So as for my birth family, I'm the broadest of the three boys. They're both taller than I am, but I am the like, my shoulders are the broadest. Like, I am the spitting image of my birth father. Like, even down to the hair, losing the hair, because he's got very thin hair up here. Not that I really give a shit about him, because he didn't want me. The asshole didn't even think to give me a name. So fuck him. My real dad's name is John. That other guy just fucked the lady who gave birth to me. So. Alright, on to cringe. So.
Tell me when.
3, 2, 1. Yeah. Apparently that's you in 15 years with the misses. Yeah, if you guys have never seen Married with Children, it's pretty funny, to say the least.
15 years with Miss. Well, we won't. We. I'll leave that up for interpretation.
Yeah, I would say that's probably more me with any girlfriend I've had. Like that than anything. Is because I tease people, you know. All the time. Every girlfriend I've ever had, I always tease. Just to do it. like my last girlfriend was a short stack, and she was very, very blessed in the chest, and she always says, or she would come visit me and sit down while I'm, doing the dishes or something. And she would, it was always after work for her. And she's like, oh, I've got such bad back pain. I'm like, well, of course you have such bad back pain. You're like 90% boob. So, that's just the jokes I make. Like, there's a reason that I'm not hitched. So, so anyway. I think we got all the questions. So before we go, want to say thank you to Chaos Sonic and 420 Gunny for the generosity with the $1 dues. Thank you to Gunny as well for gifting a tier 1 sub today as well. It's very much appreciated. Hatman and I will be gone next week, because next week is Easter. But we will be back the week after. I may still stream, but it probably won't be a podcast. We'll see if how things be going. But yeah, I can't really think of much else to say. For the few of you that have 3 nights stuff, Hatman's going to be getting those out this week. This week, next week, was it? I can't remember.
End of this week.
By end of this week
is what I'm looking at, and I've already knock on wood again, because it seems like whenever I say something like that, fate says, "Okay, bet."
I will be reminding him as well. So
yes,
there is that.
Have your shame the Hatman emojis ready.
In fact, let's just go ahead and preemptively hit the fucking button, shall we? Everyone shame to Hatman!
Shame! 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 Shame!
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
So yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh! One thing we will be talking about after this is editing my book. My novella, because it's only got about 30 pages left, which might only take me about a week or 2 to get finished. In which case, once it's edited, there's no crowdfund with that book, guys. It's going straight to Amazon, and then you'll be able to buy it right there. So, I'm pretty fucking excited about that, because I've never written a book before. It's going to be like a 100-page novella, but it's still fucking exciting! So, needless to say, that's something else. Other than that, Hatman, can you think of anything we missed that beforehand?
Aside from the those of you who have ordered Peregrine, also those are getting sent out slowly but surely. A lot of you in this international stack of 3 nights here have Peregrine books in the packages, so you'll get them at the same time. You're welcome. Well, more like I'm sorry, not so much you're welcome, because good God, you've waited long enough for this shit. Let's be real. I think that's about it. Who we rating? Are we rating anybody?
Everybody's saying raid Tofu, but is Tofu still live right now? I thought that
Our usual raids aren't online from what I can tell.
Right now, I thought that yeah, he's still live right now. What is I guess Martyr's not going live for a bit. So, well, more than likely he'll end up raiding into Martyr anyway. So, what about It's a Gundam? Nah. So what should the raid message be? You know what? Shame the Hatman. Just spam the Shame the Hatman emote. Just put a bunch of them in there. If you're a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber and you don't have the Shame the Hatman emote, why just subscribe? Get the emote. What the fuck's wrong with you? So we'll go ahead and begin the raid. Let me put in the code. Oh no, it's /raid, not exclamation point. Alright, so we'll be rating Tofu in 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we will see you guys next week.